welcome to our amazing audience of the podcast, the best version of you. And we have got today Anna Smith, who is a trailblazer and a wonderful friend of mine. She is really curious about the human design, the intersection of business, of psychology, of technology, and literally, like each one of us is a miracle, a story. We will dive deep into who she is. Although she's amazingly successful at this point, all of us face challenges, face failures. How did she get back on and be where she is? Anna, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Ruchi. So wonderful to be here with you and everybody online. I'm very passionate about the topic and the arena that you just described. And definitely my journey now has a few rodeos for sure and a few lessons learned. So I'm very interested in sharing some of those lessons with your wonderful audience, and especially in these highly complex, highly volatile and uncertain times that we're living. And it looks that things are not going to get any easier, simpler, or clearer for us. So, how do we find that clarity from ourselves into the world? So, that's a little bit of what I would love to be able to achieve today with all of you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Brilliant. So, Anna, if we were to create I don't know, help our audience create an intention, because I've been there. You listen to this amazing podcast, you're like, oh, wow, wow, wow. And then you get back to life. So, if we could encourage our audience to create an intention as to what is it that I'm going to take away from this podcast, and that one thing that I'm going to implement in my life. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's, I would really invite, if you're listening
Yeah.
it live, if you're listening it later on, just at this point, creating an intention for yourself. What is it, that one thing that I want to learn from here and basically implement, get it into action, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
I love that. Start with the end in mind, for sure. One of the things that I have found extremely powerful, and in all fairness, this is something that I discovered along the way. It didn't happen at the beginning. I didn't learn this in school, in college, masters, nothing of that nature. It was part of the things that, if you pay attention and if you're open to learning, and especially learning from your failures, things that don't go necessarily the way you planned them or expected them to, has been very much understanding what really um, brings you joy and brings you value, and makes you shine as the person that you are. And there's a concept, I probably would land it there, and I'll talk a little bit about it, and we can continue to build on it. But the concept of ikigai,
Mm-hmm.
this Japanese concept that has existed for a long time, and that many of them have practiced or practice today. And this basically talks to the intersection of the aspects or the things that you're passionate about, the things that could make you money, things that would bring value into the world, and things that you are particularly good at. An
Mm-hmm.
oversimplification. So if you think of that, an overlay of circles, which is typically or very many times how it's represented, that center would be your ikigai. This involves, and if you do this reflection, what is really your purpose? What is really what gets you up in the morning, etc. And I've given you a lot in this. These are all very deep concepts. I'm not recommending follow your passion and that's what's going to make you successful, because that is not necessarily how this works. It is a combination of things. It really has to work from a financial perspective for you, whatever that is. It has to work from what are some of the strengths that I have. That means that I know myself. That means that I've done the introspection and I have done that work. So I think to summarize this, I would say, if you are to, let's say that you have never done this exercise or something similar like this, do an exercise, right? You know, take the time, take the space away from kids, husbands, wives, partners, significant others, just for yourself, some 30 minutes or so, and just start to draw or write down what are some of the things that are critical for you. So, for example, what gets me up in the morning?
Hmm.
So reflect on that. Over 80% of people don't know what gets them up in the morning. We're just automated. We are operating by deep ingrained habits, and that's what we do. We know our routines. We know what we need to do. But think about it. What gets you up in the morning? That is going to talk about, ideally, what is your meaning. If you double click on that, is what is your meaning. Think about what I'm really good at. And let's say, oh my God, I really don't know, because I'm a little bit shy. I really don't know. I'm a little bit humble. I don't know. Ask people around you. So what am I really good at? Am I really good at communicating? Am I really good at planning? Am I really good at etc.? What are some of those areas that I'm really good at, and continue to hone on those? So think about those. So what gets you up in the morning, which is going to equate to what gives you meaning. What are your strengths? What are your areas of passion? I really love to work with animals. I really love to work in the outside. I really love to work in an office. I really love to lead people. I'm very good at orchestrating things, etc. So think about all these things. So these three areas that I just mentioned, and then upon that reflection, think about three goals that you would establish for yourself to achieve them. So let's say that you want to be someone who manages people, or who leads a business, or starts your own thing, your own business, etc. What are the three goals that you're going to establish for yourself? It is very important that you have them written down, that you can see them, and every day you check them. Why is having goals important? Not only having the more philosophical aspects, but the goal piece, because anything that doesn't fit that, or any and all of these goals, will probably have to be left for a different type of priority. Very, very important. This is going to help you hone things in, and this is why a lot of us get distracted. God knows that I have fallen into that. I wanted to start a business, write a book, learn a language, etc., all at the same time. That doesn't work, right? So what is really the priority for me right now? It doesn't mean that I'm not going to do it if I really want to do it. It just means that I have a priority for that. So think about this exercise of reflection. And the other bit is, while you're doing all of this, it's going to help you reconnect with yourself. What is really important to you, not what everybody else says. It's not going to be an easy exercise, but it's going to be worth it.
Brilliant. That's spectacularly amazing insight. I mean, when you mentioned ikigai, I remember those three circles intertwining into one. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's amazing. Like, you actually gave bullet points about how you can move towards it, right? Step by step, one step at a time. So, like, all the people wanting a startup out there, wanting to follow their passion. Oh, I'm going to have my business. Okay, great. What are my goals? And I think we lose track of where we want to be when our means goals do not align with the end goals, and we don't have the end in mind, right? The bigger why. So when I say the end, it's like just the bigger why.
Mhm.
What is your bigger why? What wakes me up in the morning? What will keep me going no matter what the challenge, no matter what the obstacle? One thing I've realized the hard way is, if you're trying to live somebody else's dream, it's unlikely to get you up or keep you going in the morning. Is it your parents' dream? Is it the society's dream of success that you're living? When it is yours and you keep focused on the bigger why, you keep going. Yeah, one step at a time. one step at a time.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And just triggered an insight of something that you just said, which is I just learned or read about a piece of research that was very startling. I would say, the definition for me, or what I'm really after, is how do I help people to be happier? That
Mm,
is, the thing is that if you say this in a business setting, like, Anna, what is it that you do? Oh, I help people to be happier. And the leader that is, interviewing me for a particular project or something, it would be a little bit difficult. So you have to choose your language wisely, even though that is part of it. This is an outcome when you are doing the things that you're really meant to be doing. You are happier. You become wholer, if you may. You are someone who becomes better for those around you, etc., which is probably natural to hear. But the study talks about, Ruchi, about this. They interviewed people at the end of their life, like literally people that were terminal, and and a lot of them, to try and understand what do you, amongst different questions, the key question in the questionnaire, the study, was, what do you regret the most?
mhm, mhm,
And the interesting thing is, what they regretted the most, this was the result, was the things that I didn't do and I always wanted to do. So at that point in time in anybody's life, it's too late to
mm,
go back to the drawing board, to thinking about a business, thinking about a new career, what have you, whatever it may be. But to me, it was very, very sobering to hear that. And I have incorporated that as part of the, I would say, nuggets that I always like to put in people's minds. So, what do you want to regret? I mean, do you want to regret? What do you want to regret about? I don't. It's not my life; it's your life. We only have this one. So, what do you want to do with your life? How do you want to live it? And what is the type of role model that you want to be for those around you, right? Your children, your significant others, etc.
so true, so true. I mean, when you said that, I mean, the one question that was, well, I would say, not life changing, but giving me such a bigger, brighter perspective was, if I only had 30 days left in my life, just 30 days, okay? I
Okay.
mean, normally I used to be a to-do list person, tick, 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 this needs to be done, that needs to be done. In those 30 days, that's it. Then you are leaving this vehicle of yours, that's it. What
Right.
would be your priorities? And this is not to instill a fear of death or something. It is just to say that we've got finite time. We can't waste it living somebody else's life.
Right.
Finding what a successful, meaningful, purposeful life means to you. Because as you said, when you're dying, so many people were asked on their deathbed, and all they have is regret. And none of them mentioned, you know what? I went after my dream, I failed, and I regret that. Nobody said that. Yeah,
Nobody said that. Nobody said that.
because you went after it. I mean, because life is about learning and growth. Life is not about success and failure. I mean, at least that's how I grew up. Whatever I imbibed from my surrounding was success, failure. And what did that do? The problem is that instills a fear of failure, and you cannot learn anything new without failing. So you have to embrace failure. I mean, when we look back at our lives, I don't know, whatever we construe as failure, we
Yeah.
wouldn't be the person we are now if we hadn't gone through that and learned, right?
Yes.
That was really insightful for me. Like, none of those dying people said, you know what, I went after my dream and I failed and I'm so sad. Nobody said that.
Exactly. 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 What feels your heart? What feels, yourself? And in order for us to know, and it seems sometimes a bit obvious, but it is really not, in the sense that we are all different. And you said it well at the beginning. Each one of us is a story.
Mm-hmm.
And each one of us, and there's a program that I do, and one of the questions that I ask the participants is, please raise your hand if your heart is not occupied or preoccupied right now with something. Just raise your hand. Nobody raises their hand. And that is a lesson that I learned from my mom. There's no unoccupied heart. There's always something. We're living. We're in the midst of. We are. Whether you're married, you're in a significant relationship, you have children. If you don't have children, if you're working in an organization, if you have your own business, if you want to get a job and you haven't had a job in a year and you're struggling financially, we all have our struggles. And it is very, very important that in order to convey the best of you and bring the best of you, for example, to a job interview, you first do your work, center yourself. What are the things that are priorities for me, so that you can identify the things that you don't want? You have to know the things that you want and are after, but also the things that you are not willing to take. And I understand that sometimes we have to do things because we have to pay the rent,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have to. I'm not talking about temporary things. I'm talking about things that are long lasting. So that's probably something else that's very, very important. Getting to know yourself every night. One way to close that gap that I have found, and it's also scientifically based, is that gratitude helps us heal and close those gaps. So every night, uh, I personally have a journal. Other people, just think about it, or write in their phones, what have you. My preference is that you do it handwritten, because you have to be away from your phones at least an hour before going to bed, or any screens if you may. But that's another story. But the point of this is, writing three things that you're thankful for that day. A beautiful, you had an opportunity to have a coffee with a friend, a wonderful conversation like today. For sure, this is going to go into my grateful things. Absolutely, this is very, very important. Anything, a beautiful sunrise, spending time with your children, having an opportunity to be able to have a job, whatever is important to you that day and you're grateful for. And believe me, when you are feeling not at your best, you're feeling down, etc., just open your journal, just check everything, all the things that you're grateful for, and your heart is gonna feel. It's one of the ways I have found most practical and compelling to close those gaps.
Brilliant. That is one amazing takeaway every single person can do, Doesn't take more than 5 minutes of your time, end of the day, three things I'm grateful for, just one, two, three. One, two, three. Nobody can say I don't have time for it. And
Exactly.
gratitude is such an amazing energy. Anything negativity comes from lack. Something is lacking. This is not good enough. This is not going my way. If you rise from up there and know what, no matter how tough a day, there's always something that is going right for you, isn't it? Even on the toughest of days. So when you recognize that, I think in my personal experience, I would say you rise from the, this is not going right, that is not going right. You rise up and you're like, okay, this is going right. And you can come from a positive energy to, I mean, yes, when it comes to negative emotions, I would never recommend kind of putting them under the carpet. You face them, you can
Right.
feel them, but at the same time, not get swept away by them. So you face them, separate from them, because you're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings, you're not your emotions, right? They're there
Mhm.
to convey the message. You get the message. And I think I've mentioned it before, I'll mention it again about, like, the river in front of you. Thoughts, emotions, and feelings are in there, but you are the observer, you're not them.
Mhm.
Thank you, Anna, again. We would like to know a bit more about who Anna is. So maybe who Anna was, maybe, I don't know, 10 years back, 15 years back, or where was this turning point in your life where you aligned with this is what I want: human design, technology, business. How do they integrate? And you know, when we met in Paris, in your talk, there was this amazing conversation about you had with an organization where you told them, like, you know, how happy your employees are is going to show up in their work, and they were like, "Sorry, what? This is not going to be demanding." Tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, absolutely. These probably double click into more of the neuroscience. I'm an organizational psychologist. That is what I went to school for, and I have continued my studies there. But about probably 10, 11 years ago, I had an opportunity to learn more about neuroscience. And the reason why, Ruchi, was because all of the work that I was doing inside organizations, I have basically worked with very large organizations, very complex, global, and therefore the type of complexity in terms of the problems that we're trying to solve for multiplied very quickly, right? When you have to bring, I don't know, leadership development for leaders that span across 50 countries and 50 cultures and what have you, how do you do that? But one of the things that was very, very important to me was when we started to measure very specifically how much people were embracing the change, because learning is change, behavioral change. That's basically what it is. And we started to notice that people were, in some percentage, were going back in their behavior, into they went back to their previous, I'm going to call it habits or modality
Mm-hmm.
or previous behavior, if you may. So there was a window there that we haven't seen so clearly. And you have to measure this in order to know, because if not, it's very difficult for you to understand that people are going back to their own ways unless it's in your own team, right? You can obviously see it. But we had the opportunity to do that, and it was eye opening, because when we started to see that it was not a US thing or a Europe thing or a Latin America thing, no, it was across the board. We realized that the commonality was being human.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Therefore, neuroscience came into play, understanding more a little bit of how the brain works, how memory works, how habits are formed. So going a little bit deeper into that, how our thoughts, what you were just describing, how our thoughts generate emotions, we generate actions, we generate results. And we have to be very careful of negative thoughts, and not keeping them running like a little chihuahua in our
Mhm.
head, because if we feed them, they will stay, and it will not be favorable for us.
Yeah.
It creates a lot of issues, stress, and other things. But the main point is, we realized this, and therefore had to go deeper into learning more, and what are some of the things that we could do to incorporate, whether it's in programs or in other learning avenues, so that we could sustain and maintain that. And one of the things through neuroscience that we learned was, for example, some of the things that are, this is probably important, but repetition is key in learning. Very, very important. It's not insulting, because when you're dealing with adults, what,
Mhm.
but we see this yesterday, yes, but it's a repetition thing, and you don't have to give the same class again. It's just a repetition. It's allowing for the sleep cycle to kick in, so that whatever you learn today throughout the night gets processed into your brain as a memory. It starts to go from recent memory to long-term memory, etc. So there are some mechanisms that we started to look into and incorporate into our programs. Another big one is coaching. So that is a big, big opportunity, because it helps. It's not only proven to be extremely helpful, but it actually, whatever specialty you're dealing with, whether it's life coaching or executive coaching, etc., it really helps hone in on the specific things that that particular individual needs. That is the beauty of the coaching bit. It's very personalized, even if you do group coaching.
Mhm.
So this is how everything was triggered for me, and therefore I incorporated that into everything else that I kept, you know, knowing and doing and everything. Has it been easy? No, because it is a completely different or new area. It's like I don't know, maybe studying engineering after being a psychologist or whatever. It's just something that requires attention, and you really need to understand the mechanisms of the brain. In my particular case, for learning, and that triggered going into understanding what are some of the, in that field, you start to understand that in order to learn, you have to be emotionally connected, right? Things that are emotional are become memorable, and therefore, oh, I need to incorporate something more fun, more experiential, yada yada. But it also helped in identifying what stress does to us,
Mhm.
and how it helps or hinders not only learning but our overall um, well-being. And that is what has taken me into combining learning and well-being. Now, of course, we work with clients that have burnout, which is super super common. Which is basically, burnout is stress sustained over time inside, when you're working. That is the definition for burnout. And therefore, if you continue to work in that organization or in that role or under that leader, and that is not solved for, then you basically can understand what happens. This is what has triggered a lot of the alarms and alerts that probably the pandemic has surfaced. It's not that it didn't exist before, it's just surfaced it drastically. So this is how a little bit of the journey has taken me. And probably one of the things that has been super difficult for me, Ruchi, that I want to share with the audience, is that I had to make a decision between continuing working inside an organization, a global organization, doing my thing with leaders and this and that and the like, and exiting to for a personal reason. I had to the opportunity to become a caregiver for my mom, who had a fall, and it was very difficult to combine being inside an organization, even if it was hybrid or remote, and be a full-time caregiver. Therefore, for me, the biggest learning probably in the past 4 years or so has been that. And I have the utmost respect uh, for people that are in the caregiving space like yourself. Whether it's professionally or personally, it really takes another layer of complexity inside us. It demands a lot. It can be, of course, very emotional and very draining, and therefore you have to take care of. So in my, I would say, my next level is going to be to put together a couple of programs I'm working on for how do I help caregivers to caregive themselves first, so that they can be at their best, from a uh, certainly human neuroscience and psychology perspective. That's the next thing. But again, I stumbled on this because I had to be one, and I had to let go of something that I really, really, really loved inside an organization that I really loved. But I don't regret the decision. I mean, it was difficult. It was very, very difficult for me to do that. Having always worked inside organizations, it was a tough one. But it didn't take a lot to be able to make the decision. But I wanted to share that as well with you guys.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, because a lot of people find it difficult to. I was just talking to a prospective client, a while back. And that is what they were saying. They were holding themselves responsible because they're like, oh, my personal life affects my professional life, and my professional life affects my personal life. That makes me feel very weak. I'm like, why? Why? Because you are a person. It's not like we have got compartments in us. This is my professional life, this is my personal life. Everything is kind of intertwined, isn't it? So I think, again, especially like when you're a carer for your parents, child, anybody, if your own cup is empty, you can't give anybody else anything, isn't it?
Very.
We're always told about this idea of being selfless and think about others. Being selfish is bad. I think almost all cultures in some or the other way say that.
Yeah.
Being selfless is great, but what I feel is, when you take care of yourself, rather than coming from an empty heart, rather than coming from a place of sacrifice, you
Yeah.
come from a place of full heart, where, like, you're so full that you want to give more. I think that
Yeah.
is much more peaceful, even in your personal relationship, in your professional relationship. And I love how you shared about, you had a major change in the career zone. It's like you had to unlearn a few things. You have to go into a completely new zone, but you kept going, okay, what can I learn here? How can I grow here? And
Totally.
balancing your personal life, with taking care of your mom. Then you're like, okay, I need to do this. How do I balance this with what I really do? So again, the same thing. I think, I was this person. I'm saying that because I was this person. When I would have achieved this, and then when this and this will be sorted in my life, then I'll be happy, then I'll feel accomplished, then I'll feel successful. But the thing is, life is everything that happens in between, because there's never going to be a time where everything has sorted out, and nothing, because you will always be growing, you will always be learning, isn't it? So I think just looking at a different perspective, when we face a difficult situation or a challenge, what am I learning here? What am I growing here? I
Yeah.
think rather than what's happening, just looking at it from a different perspective. Yeah. No, I don't like challenges. I don't like obstacles either, like everybody else out there. But I would just like to pose a question. If we were to look back at our lives, each and
Yeah.
every one of us, if we were to anything that we think was failure, because there is no failure in life, they're all stepping stones that helped us learn. But when we look back, what we think of as failure, now, if you were to like, this is failure, 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 if you were to delete those from your life, would you still be the person you are today? No, because
Correct.
they were big stepping stones. I mean, you learn so much more from failure than from success. And again, I mean, this statement might sound normal, but it was like a big shift for me. So I come from a household where it's like being successful defines your self-worth, right? So
Right.
changing that to life is not about success or failure, life is about learning and growth, literally helped me how I look at life. Because my fear of failure stemmed from, if you want to learn something new, if you want to start something new, you're going to accept that you're going to be bad at starting through. Yeah. My podcast is just a few episodes old. So maybe Anna is going to look at this podcast a few months down the lane, like, you did a better job with this guest than me. But then, you have to allow yourself the space to learn, to grow, just being kinder to yourself, allowing yourself to the space to make a mistake and not be harsh on yourself, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you are giving some amazing nuggets out there. Neuroplasticity was one of them. A whole lot of time we're told at one point your cells in the brain do this and that's it. You can't learn anymore. Now we know that's not the case. We can
Yeah.
always learn new things, no matter what your age is. We can always learn. We can always grow. And coming from the neuroscience perspective, I would say you definitely can shed more light on that.
That's absolutely true. So, for example, if we think about, one of the questions that I get frequently is, okay, so how do I put neuroplasticity into action in my case, etc. And one of the things that I usually tell people is
Mm-hmm.
read. So reading is like exercise to the body, reading is to the brain. So it allows us to extend and grow. And that's only one way, obviously, very, very quick and very simple. But if you think about it, when was the last time? I'm always challenging people. Okay, when was the last time that you read a book? And I'm not talking about a fiction book necessarily. Something that left you something. The most important thing, of course, is that you push yourself. Remember the spaces that you, for example, in those areas of strength, in those areas that you want to polish. Maybe if you want to start a business, then read a good business book, etc., etc., etc. But if you build that, you're going to be amazed of what you can accomplish, right? Like it's it's just um, it's just tremendous. One of the I was just a thought came to my mind.
Mhm.
That is a challenge that I have to. I'm thinking of organizing myself on how to do it, because I want to succeed, even if it takes me longer. But I recently learned, started reading that, walking 10,000 steps a day is doing 7 marathons in a year.
Wow.
So that was, oh, maybe I don't have to do the marathon after all, but I can do 7 in a year if I do this. So I want to make sure. So the thing is that when you put it into context, right? It's not about. Remember that I told you, set your goals in regards to what you're capable of. Right now, for me, I know that I have, for example, 3 mornings a week where I can go and do a really nice walk. I know the other days I can, because I have other commitments that I cannot do. But what are some of the ways in which I could find a middle ground to do the 10,000 steps and the seven, at the end of the year, say I did 7 marathons. It's going to take me longer, but how do I do that? What helps me? How do I verbalize? How do I write the goal so that it's for me and I am able to achieve it, so that I'm setting myself for success versus failure, which I already know I couldn't be able to do even if I wanted. Most probably, well, I mean, maybe if I get one of those treadmills under my desk or something, I could. I don't know, but knowing yourself is very, very important. So if I take everything into what we said, and just building on what you just said, Ruchi, is think about when you're challenged, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling that you don't have an answer or you cannot find the answer, etc. There's a couple of things that I would recommend that I know have worked in my particular case. One, and this has been probably the most difficult thing for me to learn: ask for help.
Oh.
Ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been successful, things have worked at certain times, and this I knew the recipe, and when the recipe didn't work, and I
Mm.
started to feel very incompetent and very very pensive on what did I do wrong, what did I miss, what is my mistake, why did I one of the things that I realized is I need to get a coach that
Mm.
can help me get to the next level. But I understand when emotions, and you said it well a few minutes ago, allow yourself for the 5 minutes of the emotion or whatever it takes, hopefully not very long, obviously. Leave your emotions, don't
Yeah.
follow them, leave the emotion. And if you can tag your emotion, it's even better,
Mm.
because that helps you understand, oh, what I felt in that meeting was frustration.
Mm.
Oh, okay. So that means that you're getting to know yourself. Oh, what I felt at the parking lot at the grocery store, that was anger. I was up to here, or whatever it was. So the important thing about knowing your emotions is because it's gonna help you manage them
Mm.
better. That means knowing yourself. So like your emotions, etc. But the point of this is coming full circle to your basics, who you are, what gives you meaning, what's important to you. Well, I couldn't work inside an organization, and I made a decision. I am not, I mean, fortunately for me, I had the opportunity to choose,
Mm-hmm.
but financially is one thing, but emotionally is another. So emotionally, I felt in a very, very different place. And therefore, I decided, I made a decision, I'm going to take a year because this takes priority. And I am going to use my downtimes to um, regroup and reflect on what it is that I want to do. And
Mm-hmm.
that helped me. And I started, coaching clients and things that allowed me, bits and pieces of the things that I love to do that allowed me to put
Mm-hmm.
together my business and then push it forward that I am now able to do. But just take the opportunity, I guess, in recap, take the opportunity to feel what you're feeling, feel
Mm-hmm.
that emotion. If you can tag it, it's important in order to manage it so that when you know that you're angry, you know that it takes these emotions take a little bit to a few minutes, a few moments to it's like a burst. So if you know that this is anger, you manage yourself, you hold yourself versus exploding like a kid or a baby or whatever, and just tantrum, right? That some adults do.
Mm-hmm.
God knows that happens every single day across the board, but understand, tag, and of course, have the opportunity to reflect on, okay, I know I didn't get the job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, somebody else got the job. Well, you know what? Probably that my mindset has always been I didn't work for this company now for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
For a reason. Everything happens for a reason. I did the homework, I did the prep, I was at my best. I gave my 100%. For some reason it didn't happen. If it happens later, great. But now I need to move into continuing my efforts to get the job that I want in the companies that I'm after, etc. So allow yourself to do that little grieving moment and say, well, it's their loss. Let's move along and let's move into something else.
Mm. Yeah, that's amazing. Again, I mean, when you said that, the one question that came to me was, what did I learn from this? Again, like, so the interview didn't go my way, or you're like, oh, I did great, but they didn't have me. I love that. Like, that's their loss. I think, again, it's such a big shift in perspective. Think, oh, they didn't have me, to changing to, that's their loss. I think that is such an epitome of self love and self acceptance, that you are not seeking your self worth from whether they accept you or not. Maybe there are bigger things waiting for you. And you're like, okay, Ruchi, that's too optimistic. Okay, let's go a step down. What did I learn here? Okay, what could I have done better? Nothing else. You're not criticizing anything. You're not saying this is not
Yeah.
right. Okay, what did I learn here? What could I have done better? I think just these questions, because I was in this major habit. One thing doesn't go my way, and my inner critic will go like, "What?" So, when you have these right questions and you do them once, twice, thrice, I mean, what is a habit? Habit is something you have done for a long, 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 long time, isn't it? So if
Yeah.
you put yourself into a habit of, when this happens, I'm going to bring this question, you can challenge your inner critic and change the inner dialogue. And I think that definitely changes the quality of your life. Second thing I would like to kind of dive a bit deeper on was, like, when you said, you were doing this job, when you changed, career paths to some extent, you're like, okay, am I feeling fulfilled? And maybe in one path, you're like, yeah, outwardly everything looks great. But on the other end, I don't know what the financial gain was, more or less, but you felt more fulfilled in yourself. So, the question you asked, when you wake up in the morning, what brings a smile to your face?
Yeah.
I definitely feel that feeling joyous, purposeful, and fulfilled on a daily basis. I mean, yes, you have your bigger goal and bigger why and end goal. That's all amazing. But I think, what is life? Life is made of days. Days make months, months make years, years make your life. So unless you are focused on living a daily, yes, there will be hard days and not so hard days, but basically finding fulfillment and joy on a daily basis. Yeah.
That is such a powerful statement. The One of the things that is part of well-being, and it's part of being happy, and it's part of being fulfilled. It's living in the present.
Yes. Yes.
um, the two big um, illnesses of our century: depression,
Yeah.
right, and anxiety. So depression, living in the past;
Mm.
anxiety, living in the future. And all the things that potentially could happen. Oh my God! And in the past, all these mistakes, how dumb I was, or what I didn't do. Da 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 da. Can you change the past? No. Can you do anything about the future? I mean, you can prepare today for the future, but the future per se doesn't exist either. The
No,
only time that exists is the present.
so true.
So we sometimes lose track of that. So I'm glad you brought it forward, because that's very important that we have it as part of our mindset, because that gives you a different perspective, right? Like, oh, the only resources, the only opportunity, the only window that I have is today.
And you cannot
What
waste it
to do with
on.
today? Right.
That is so, so, so true. Yeah. And that has been a really, really insightful conversation. There was one thought coming to me, but I got so engrossed in what you were saying. Now that left me. So if it comes back, I'll come back to it.
Sure.
Now, Anna, I mean, you have shared so many nuggets, and I'm pretty sure our amazing audience are taking notes and have chosen that one thing that they're going to implement right now. So, anybody who is thinking, Anna, you know what? You have come so far in your life. You're lucky, you're amazing, you're smart, everything goes your way. I'm feeling stuck. I am stuck in overwhelm. I feel I'm not good enough. Things don't go my way. All of which that you've said is inspiring, but I'm feeling stuck. What do I do right now in this moment? What would you say? Maybe like a couple of things to say
Yeah.
that, I've been there, things go wrong, and you can get yourself back up and move on.
Yeah, I think that we have definitely all been there. God knows I've been there. And one of the things that I would very much suggest is treat yourself. So the first thing, in terms of two or three, one or two things to share, is treat yourself with compassion.
Mm-hmm.
How would you talk to your best friend in that circumstance?
Yes.
So your best friend is stuck. What would and they come to you and they say, I'm feeling like this. I don't know what to do, etc. So the first thing that you would do is most probably feel empathy and compassion, right? Because it's not an easy spot to be in, number one. Number two, I would say, what would you recommend your best friend to do? Right? What are some of the things? Well, I would probably say give yourself time to grieve. It depends on the level of complexity and depth that you're in stock, but uh, give yourself that opportunity, but also give your the opportunity to reflect on this is a challenge, but it's also, on the other side of the coin, is an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So with this opportunity that I'm in, so I have applied to 10 jobs, and none of them have said, Anna, would you like to come to an interview? Or I have been looking for a job for a year, or I feel that my relationship is failing, or whatever it may be. So think about what are some of the things that, if you think about of the immediate future, where would you like to see yourself? And
Mm-hmm.
then build the bridge. So for example, let me take the example of the job. If that were the case, then if your own devices, your own resources, your own ways have not worked, what people within your network have you reached out to that could help you? For
Mm-hmm.
example, Does your network know that you're looking for a job and what you're looking for, right? Have you had an opportunity to talk to a mentor or a coach, somebody that you trust that can give you some guidance, somebody that might be working in the same type of work that you are, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess the point here is, what avenues haven't you tried? Because the ones that you have tried so far may not be working.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the job market is very, very complex. As you guys know, the way in which organizations bring you in into an interview, for example, is they you have to post your, for the most part, you have to post your resume into the application applicant tracking system, which responds to an algorithm. So if the algorithm is looking for things that you don't have in your resume, even though your resume may be very well suited for that potential role, the applicant tracking system is going to reject you. It's not a person that is even rejecting you. It's not a human being that is rejecting you. So think about this, because it feels horrible when you don't get that. It's like, what is wrong with me? So get a little bit more, almost take a step back and look at context in a different way, and what are some of the avenues that you haven't tried. One way, and remember, in this particular avenue of work, remember that 80% of jobs even today are gotten through network,
True.
through our recommendation. So just a thought, when you're inside, it's like you have a gray cloud on top of you, and that doesn't allow you to think. So shake yourself from that, give yourself the opportunity to feel badly for 5, 10, 30 minutes or an hour, whatever it is, and then start to write your plan on what are you going to do differently.
Brilliant. Brilliant. No, that's amazing. That's a big takeaway. First of all, it's a system rejecting, not a person. So not to take it personally. Feel the
Yeah,
feel. Don't run away from it, but give
right.
yourself time. I think this
Exactly.
really works well. I'm a big feeler, so I've got 20 minutes. Feel all your feels, and then you get best. So there's fix a timer where you feel the feels, and then
Literally.
back up, and then you
Yes.
get back up. And
Literally.
I wanted to, well, if you would, you shared the story of a few clients that you worked with, and could you share maybe like one, and like what they came to you with, what were they stuck with, and what was the transformation you could offer to them? Yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I have one, fresh in my mind just from uh, recently last week. Basically, having or going from working in a very particular area, which is HR, and wanting to go into marketing.
Mhm.
So, not having any type of experience in marketing is
Mhm.
very difficult, that they give you an opportunity like, I want to go into marketing. So one of the avenues that first, what is so interesting or so relevant about marketing for you? Number one, what are some of the things that you would love to do there? What is so interesting about it? And then, in order to make the jump, you may probably have to do something, either go one job, one level down. Certainly, parallel would be amazing, but in this particular case, one of the things that we did in through coaching with her was very particularly outline a plan. So for her to be very clear that that is what she really wanted, because she had a 20-year very, very successful career in HR. And
Right.
then the second bit is, okay, what is the strategy, or what is the plan for getting you from um, exactly from HR into marketing? So you have to devise the plan, and for example, that included action items like, oh, I'm going to go and talk to, because you're in HR. I mean, the advantage that she had, or that she has, is that she knows a lot of people. So if people in marketing don't know about her interest, how are they going to invite her to be part of a project or something? So she basically accomplished a couple of things there. One, she got an opportunity to be part of a project in marketing, which I think was fantastic. I mean, and also the permission from her manager to be able to do that. So the thing to ensure that the opportunity is going to be the right one for her in terms of it's a safety net, because she didn't have to go, you know, jump ship from that company or and look for another job.
Mm.
But she basically put all of her she aligned all of her ducks in a row, so that if everything went well with that project, she was going to get an opportunity for a job in that particular. So there's a lot of opportunities that need to happen,
Mm.
uh, or things that you have to think about, and
Mm.
not just say they're never going to give me an opportunity. Well,
True.
it's
Yeah.
up to you
Yeah. I
in your career. Nobody's gonna come and, Ruchi, would you like to come into marketing? We have a beautiful job and we thought of you. It doesn't happen like that.
He did not sit there trying to start applying for marketing jobs, because if she did that, she's got no experience in marketing, and that never happened. She looked
Exactly.
for her strengths. You helped her look for her strengths. Okay, so you have got HR, you've got a network.
Exactly.
Getting to people who know about her interest, getting you there. So it's like, what is the next step? So she's not looking like, now I'm going to do a 5-year course in marketing so that I get there. No, she is looking at her network. She's looking, being present. What can I do now? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So this is one of the ways, to be able to do that. But the most important thing is the origin, right? What do you really want to do, and why do you want to do it?
Why? Yes.
Uh, so take it from there and then start to build your plan towards that, because that is probably where a lot of us fail, and we're just waiting and like ruminating and just, oh, everybody, they pick everybody else, but but me. Well, have you told them that you're interested? How are they gonna know, right? People don't read minds yet, so you have to activate yourself and do it. So that's probably the bottom line. And if any closing thoughts in terms of this space is that you have to really, in order for good things to happen to you, you have to plan for them, and then you have to action on them.
Yes, you can't be like thinking and planning and thinking and planning. There has to be a planned action, keeping your bigger why in mind. And
Exactly.
and anybody out there who has, well, I used to have this issue. Like, I'm a big planner, so I've got
Yeah.
plan, so much planning that I'll land myself in overwhelm. So if you are somebody like that, I would just say take the next small step. You've planned, that's great, but all
Yeah.
you have to do is take the next small step, and you can keep going. It's like when you're driving from one place to other, the headlights show you a tiny way, and then when you move, you can see further. So taking the next small step. All right.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
thank you. Right. So, Anna, I have included everything in the description, all your details, Twitter, all your social media handles. So, any of our viewers, at whatever point they view this, if they want to work with you, if they want to reach out with you, if they want to follow you on social media and, learn more from you, they have got all in there. And thank you so much for giving us your invaluable time.
It's amazing. Thank you so much, my good friend. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for a wonderful conversation. Hope it was useful for folks out there. And please take care. And don't forget to really uh, put yourself first.
Yes, very important. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank you
Wonderful.
so much.
No problem. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Have a spectacular rest of your day, and I'll be with you very shortly.